Hey guys, welcome back to my garage, and I'm going to start off with this is part 2 to fixing up the Cobalts, and this is Cobalt related, but the 2 Cobalts I got at the auction. I sold the one to my cousin for what I had in it. I did have to put a little bit of money into it and fixing a few things on it, but I just sold it to her for what I had in, and basically my time in it is just a gift. It's her first car. This one right here, I actually salvaged some stuff out of the car we're working on in the garage. Took the carpet out of it. The dash cover I took out of it, and I also, one of the vents was kind of broke, and between the dash that took out of here and the dash I took out of the car in the garage, I was able to get all the little vent thingies to work properly. They seem to be a really sensitive and easy thing to break. The driver's seat in here came out of the car in the garage, and the carpet. The driver's seat that was in here was kind of worn and tore up right here. All of these seats in this car are a little stained. Whoever owned this had some kids. I took all the seats out, put soap on them, scrubbed them. This carpet came out of the one in the garage, and you see here, anybody who was seeing the video about this car, seen the mess it was. That was over there was like black. The whole area of the floor was black. The radio had, somebody had punched it and smashed out the glass in it. The radio worked but didn't display anything. I went to pull apart and got another radio. Took the faceplate off it, stuck the faceplate on the one that's in the car, and what you just can't take these radios and just plug another one in and have it work. You have to go to somebody that has like at least, I say at least, that $800 computer to program these radios. I'm pretty sure that $800 one will program a radio or a computer to a car, but not positive. But I don't own that thing. I wish I did. I just, when it comes to that, I just don't know if it'll justify its means. You know what I mean? It's like I gotta go somewhere and pay 40 bucks to have that radio programmed just for my own usage. I just don't know how much, you know, how many of those I would need to justify buying one of those computers. But painted some pieces in here. Painted these faceplate pieces. Put some spark plugs in it, an air filter, changed the oil. It's a good running car. So yeah, we'll go in and get started on the other one. Alright, since the last time you guys seen this thing, I was talking about trying to get these pieces off, and just the screw on the inside, and these pieces lift right off, so it's going to be a lot nicer as far as painting it. We won't have a taped off seam out here on the edge. It'll be up in here underneath where the piece will go on. Of course, like I was saying, I ripped out all the interior out of here. Got super nice carpet to go in here and a super nice dash panel. The rest of the seats in this car aren't bad. I probably ought to clean up pretty good. You see the floors in this car are excellent. I've been watching the auction to kind of see if something shows up that's like wrecked or something. Maybe like get an automatic transmission for this thing, but if it doesn't show up in the next week or so, I'm probably just not gonna even consider it, because I want to get started painting on this, because I got to paint this car and my dad's before snow flies. So, you know, I can't be messing around with this thing forever. Got a seat from Pull Apart. New driver's seat for this one. This one's pretty nice for its age. It's not perfect, but got some parts. I also replaced out the switch for the dome light. Replaced that out. And these things are like, you break them. You try to take them out of a car, you break them. I ended up going to Pull Apart and using a chisel and chiseling it out, and then squeezing the tabs to get it out so I didn't break it. And even then, I chipped one of the corners. There's like 4 little corners that I ended up chipping one, even by hand, we were removing it. But there was an issue with this one where it didn't want to, didn't want to turn on. I was talking about paintable mirror covers. Here they are. I'm gonna get in two different colors because one of them, car this one out, that was chipped. I ended up finding another one that the mirror was missing off of the other one. It was this color, and it had one mirror still with this one. And there, we'll have paintable mirror covers. Yeah, and I got an extra gun. I already have one up on the wall. It's brand new, but when you're starting a painting project, you don't want to be in the middle of painting it and your gun screws up. So you always want to have, like, I'm just using cheap guns too, so, you know, yeah. We got a water pump for this. The water pump in it's not bad. It's just more of a, hey, I'm fixing this car up and I'm going to have it so that it's good to go. Slap a new water pump in it. Got some wipers and yada yada. Timing set. And a new timing set. This is some Chinese thing, but you know, what's good and what's bad. You know what I mean? I don't, you know, you don't. It's hard to tell. You can go to Napa and get some crap, and you can go to AutoZone and get something decent, or you can get crap from there too. So I'm definitely not spending $500 on some GM kit. So we're gonna slap this in there. Got a new purge solenoid for the thing. I had a code for that. And they're pretty selective about their pricing with stuff up at Pull Apart. It's $10. It's like, who knows if it even works. But you know, and then you go get some switch, you know, like for something, and they, you know, oh, that's $5. You know, it's like, just because of what that is, they want 10. But anyway, in this video here, we're going to tune this engine up. I also got some spark plugs. Got some AC Delco spark plugs and an air filter to go in there. So yeah, we'll get started. I figure it's a lot easier right now to get in here and work on this. Believe it or not, there's still a plastic stinking cover on there. But yeah, not as much in the way, so it'll make it easier to do it. Alright guys, I thought I'd show you this little tool I got. It's a code reader. Plugs into like a tablet or a laptop. It's kind of hard to see in here, but you can see here that it goes to a USB port and then to your pt2 connector. It's pretty cool, and it reads off codes just like, you know, just like a regular code reader would. The one that I have is very old, early 2000s, and it's kind of lost on some vehicles. But you can see I got codes here. Basically, I did an experiment. I drove this car around for a while with the variable valve timing solenoids disconnected. So I got this saying, you know, camshaft position A and B, basically intake and exhaust codes. So these should go away on its own or whatever because I plugged them back in, but I was actually getting better gas mileage with those variable valve timing things unhooked. I was getting like probably almost 2 miles to the gallon better with them unplugged, but I did have like power issues, like climbing hills. I had to go to a, you know, it's a standard, you know, so I had to go to a lower gear sometimes where I wouldn't have before. Didn't seem to have as much ass out of the hole either. Coolant temperature sensor. It reads the temperature correctly on the dash, but for whatever reason the fan never turns on. It will. I haven't boiled the car over, but man, she was way up there. Default on these things, I basically unplug it and the fan will run constantly. I did plug it back in, you know, just for now. I need to get a new one, I think. I don't. There must be 2 circuits and one in those. I always thought it would just measure the temperature and then relay it to the computer, and the computer was to decide whether the fan would run or not. But I don't. I've seen it several times where the computers, or it says right on the dash what the temperature is, and why is not the fan running? There's some other things about this thing that's pretty cool. You can see here we got a dashboard. Has a tach and speedometer and fuel economy things. This was on fuel economy right here. It's for something else. If you plug it into another car, it just resumes where it was from the previous vehicle. But one of the things about it is kind of neat is it has this load meter right here, which basically is monitoring fuel trims and stuff. And you can kind of tell the condition of your catalytic converter. Some things just by you'd have to go by experience with it. Basically you've seen cars do better or worse, or even the same car, model and make, do better or worse on that load, whether free idle or in neutral with giving it gas. You'll be able to determine whether or not you're having trouble with your converter. This does do monitors. Let's see here. I'll fire the car up, and I wanted to let it warm up a little bit. This is the first time I've had this thing plugged into this car. Just to play around with it. Alright, while we're waiting on this thing to warm up, I seen this gas line sitting here, and I thought I would bring up the subject with it. I could have just spliced and fixed the gas leak on it, and it's probably what I should have did. I spent 150 bucks on this gas line right here, figuring that it would be a drop-in replacement of the original line that was there. And it's not. You can see here, there's new ends, and according to the directions, you have to cut the plastic lines, that hooks into here, and splice those new ends on. And it's like, if I was going to go splicing a bunch of crap, then I could have just spliced in a new piece. Basically what they did on that car. That car there has new fuel lines where it rusted out. Must be a common thing with these. But you can see here, you have this line right here, and when it goes down and meets to the metal, it's permanently fastened to the metal line. So I got to splice that line and the line, in the back. So given it all this, I don't know if I'm going to put both lines on. Basically, one of them is a vapor line. It sucks the vapor off of the gas tank, through right here. And why open two cans of worms? And just open up the one that has an issue right now. And I don't know. I'll think about it maybe. See how those little things goes, but kind of irritating. Alright, we pretty much reached full operating temperature based on the thermostat. This has a 180-degree thermostat in it. And you can see here we are at 20% load at an idle. And our idle is right there. I don't know, it may go a little lower. I can remember this thing idling a little lower than that. I'm not sure. Anyway, I want to write down what it is at 1,000 RPM or regular idle, and then I'll go up to 2,000 and I'll write down what the load is on that. I'm just curious to, after I change the timing chain, if it changes any. But so 20, I'm going to call it 20% idle. I'm going to take it up to 2,000. Alright, looks like about 18. So 20 idle, 18 at 2,000. It's funny, the more compression an engine has, it actually fights itself, I've noticed. Like a car that has a lot better, the same engine as this, but a little bit bigger, 2.4. and at an idle it's like 5 or 6% more load on it than what it is at 2000, because it's like the engine's actually working to keep itself running, so to speak. It's a pretty cool little tool. Alright guys, I got the valve cover off this thing, and this is a perfect example of properly maintaining, and changing the oil in your car. This thing has 155,000 miles on it, and this thing is spotless. I wish it was more light in here you could see, but there is no wear on nothing, which typically these things do pretty good. Even that one Cavalier we had apart, I don't know if I saved those. I might have deleted those videos because I ended up not doing the job. Matter of fact, the owner of the car didn't do anything with it either. But this right here is amazingly clean. This thing has always had its oil change, which is surprising really, because it came from an auction. And oftentimes people that lets their car get repoed isn't very good at taking care of them either. Just my opinion. But maybe they didn't have it very long. Maybe they only had it for a few months and it got taken away. I've had it for 10,000 miles I've had this car, and I've changed the oil every 3,000. And I just use like Walmart oil, that tech stuff. I've used that in several cars for their whole life. Right there's a good example. Right there you can see enough light. The valve cover. I'm going to take this and clean it. I might even put like a nice coat of paint on there, aluminum looking paint. I need to clean it because I need to clean some pieces of debris it fell down in, but nice and clean. But I don't want debris falling down in, and I reuse that gasket. I've had no trouble reusing those. I need to clean it all up. The timing chain, I'm not going to change it. There's no reason to. I was trying to light down in there and to see how far the tensioner has traveled, and there's at least 2 or 3 sprags left on that tensioner. Here, I'll show you the tensioners. This is the one that actually does the force, and then here's the tensioner. It's a sprag / oil pressure tensioner. In between each sprag, oil pressure maintains the tension until it gets to a new sprag, and then it clicks out and locks on it. And you can't, if you push on this and it'll activate it and it'll come out. Once it does that, you have to actually take it all apart to reset it. So if you're going to change one of these on one of these Cobalts, do not push on that. And once you install it, then you put like a tire iron or something like that down in here, and you push against the tensioner, and then it'll release it. But once that thing releases, freestanding, it'll just be a spongy little thing. It won't actually lock. But anyways, this thing is probably at its first sprag out of 3 or 4. There is no point in changing this chain. No point in it at all. I'd be putting money into it that I don't need to put into it, and time that it doesn't need. And especially given the fact that that's all Chinese stuff right there, it might not last as long as what this one will, just staying in here. I'm not messing with it. The only thing I'm probably going to swap and change out of that tensioner set over there is this top one right here, which is the most common thing to break. And basically what happens is the chain constantly is smacking it, and it breaks the plastic, and then it hits the metal and it makes a lot of racket. Going unchecked, it will cause premature failure because of the slapping motion. The more it can slap and move around, then it'll start drawing down on your tensioner. Your tensioner will release and go to the next click when it doesn't really need to at that point, just to because of that chain slapping, and then your chain will be too tight, and then it'll wear all the tensioners and cause, it's just a chain of effects that would happen with these. So yeah, I'm not messing with it, but I probably will change that. Water pump, since I'm not messing with that timing chain, I don't think I'm going to mess with that water pump. I do have a special tool. It does run on a different chain. There's actually two timing chains in here. But I'm just looking at it. I'm not messing with it. That water pump, I could do it another time. It's not that big of a deal. I could just as easily do it without tearing this all apart again. But I'll get the plugs out of there. I want to see what they look like. One thing I'd like to add, I do not think that this head has been changed. You know, like, just say, like, this head is clean because it doesn't have the mileage the car has, or the timing set doesn't have the mileage that the car has. I say it does. This tensioner right here is really dark plastic, so it's going through 150,000 miles worth of heat. And also, you see the head is corroded, and it's just as corroded as any other component, the block, this mount. So I would have to say this is the original head, this is the original situation. I praise the person who took care of this, because it's going to live a long time. Alright, I got the spark plugs changed, and these plugs are not very old. Generally these things last forever. I was taking these things out 100,000 miles out of cars, and pretty much what you see is like they'll like compression will leak around the porcelain. You'll see it, you know, corroded up around here, you know, coming out of here. And these haven't been in there that long, but I've taken these things out with 100,000 miles on them, and they look just like this. You know, this engine is in excellent shape. But we got new plugs in there. What the heck? My dad actually gave me these. He bought them from, I think it was China. It's made in China on there anyway. I don't know. Bought them from China, and he waited for like weeks and weeks and weeks. They never showed up. And he just bought another set from somewhere else, and then there they showed up. Here's the air filter. I could use a change in. It's not terrible though. Well, yeah, it needs changed. Got a new one anyways. And another video about this, I think I deleted it. But I was talking about this thing right here. I wasn't sure exactly what it was. I referred to it as, you know, it must be some kind of EGR thing. I really didn't look too much into it, but this car is kind of weird with it, because this is the first one I've ever seen with it. First one of these engines I've ever seen with that. I did see some earlier, the later Cavaliers before they made the Cobalt had an EGR on, some did. What this is right here is when you first fire it up, there's a little fan in here, and it just sucks air out of the intake box, you know, sucks it all the way around, and pushes it into the catalytic converter. It's just to help to get it, the process reaction started. You know, dumping oxygen into the converter, and that's what it does. So it's kind of weird how this one has it, and I don't see it on anything else. Maybe it was meant for California or something, and you know, somehow for some reason got sold here. But anyway, I think this pretty sums up this video. It's probably getting super long as usual, and you know, I'll probably start off next week. I'll show you that valve cover all cleaned up and stuff. But I'll catch you guys later.